If you were going to purchase this $150,000 rental property that rents for $1,500 a month with a conventional loan from the bank of your choice, you'd be expected to bring $30,000 to the closing table as your down payment, and this bank would bring the balance of $120,000. If you have an 800 credit score, right now you could expect to pay a rate of 3.5%. Of which would calculate to a 14% cash-on-cash return on this property. If you had a middle-of-the-road credit score, your rate might bump up to 4.5%, of which would calculate to an 11% cash-on-cash return. If you had the minimum credit score, your rate might bump up to a 5.5% range, of which would calculate to an 8% cash-on-cash return. All things being equal, notice the difference between a great credit score and the minimum credit score on your return? That's a 57% difference in your property's performance. An 800 credit score can equate to you getting to your passive income goal 57% faster, or with 57% less property purchases. See where I'm going with this? After personally filing bankruptcy in 2001, I've almost got my score to an 800, and I'll show you how I did it. Let's go. EpicBreakthrough.com is the creative financing breakthrough real estate investors are looking for. Get started with a list of 21 creative financing terms and deal structure templates to invest in real estate using more of your mind and less of your money. Epic is changing the game. Start now for free at EpicBreakthrough.com. Hi, my name is Matt Theriault, CEO of Epic Real Estate, where we show people how to invest in real estate so they can escape the daily grind and retire early. After a personal and professional do-over in 2003 at the age of 34, considering I had just gotten divorced and filed bankruptcy 2 years previously, I sort of wrote off my credit score. I mean, no banks are gonna look at me for a really long time. And that's what forced me to learn and become an expert creative real estate investor. I built a cash flowing real estate portfolio of up to 300 units at one time, all off of seller financing and private money. A decade later, however, the bank's low interest rates began to catch my attention as they started to sink well below what I was getting from sellers and my private sources. So needless to say, it was worth looking into restoring my credit score. And so I did. And I was pretty surprised by taking a few easy actions, how quickly it began to recover. And I'll tell you exactly what I did. Before I do though, real quickly, let's run through a breakdown of how a credit score is calculated. If you didn't know, a credit score can range from 300 to 850. The higher, the better. Pretty much though, anything above 750 will put you in the very top bracket to where you'll get access to the best loan terms and credit cards. So the score, it's broken down like this. First, 35% is your payment history. This is the single biggest factor, how reliably you pay your bills. So don't miss payments, don't be late. And I recommend automating your payments just to be safe. And a side note, consider automating your savings and your investments too. Automation has been a game changer for me. And my book recommendation for this is Profit First. I mean, it totally changed my life. Second, 30% of your credit score is calculated by the amount owed or your credit utilization. Divide your balance by your limit, and that will give you your credit utilization ratio. Keeping this ratio low is a very close second to payment history in improving your credit score. Creditors like to see that you can exercise restraint with regard to the maximum amount of credit available to you. For example, if you have 2 credit cards, each with a $5,000 limit, and each of them is carrying a $4,900 balance, you look irresponsible and like someone who has an inclination to live beyond their means. This is a risky look to creditors. A good rule of thumb is to keep your credit card utilization at 10% or below, and not to use more than 10% of any individual credit account. I'll lay out a strategy in just a minute on how to keep your utilization ratio low while still leveraging your credit's buying power. Third, 15% is comprised of your length of credit history. Time matters. For example, someone that opened up their first credit account 6 months ago doesn't score nearly as well as someone who has had their credit line open for 6 years. Creditors will look at your credit history accumulatively and then average it out. For example, if you open up your first credit card account today and then open up another credit card account 5 years from now, 10 years from now, one of your accounts will be 10 years old and the other will be 5 years old. So the average age of your credit history will be 7.5 years. It's generally better to have fewer older accounts rather than having a clutter of many newer accounts. Also, it's almost never a good idea to close an old account. Those old accounts are your anchors that you should try to keep forever because they dramatically increase your overall length of credit history. Fourth, 10% of your credit score comes from your credit mix. There are two main types of credit: revolving credit and installment credit. And ideally, you want at least one of each because it shows creditors that you can handle multiple types of loans. Credit cards are the main type of revolving credit. If you have at least one credit card, then you have some revolving credit. Student loans, auto loans, and mortgages are examples of installment credit. They have a natural end date and they expect regular payments each month of the same amount. Fifth, 10% is made up of new credit. If you open up a bunch of new cards or loans at once, it looks risky to creditors. Be conservative with the number of times you apply for new credit and spread them out. So now that you know what makes up your credit score, here are 12 tips to elevate it to 800 and above. 1, if you don't have enough credit and you want to increase your score immediately, the fastest way is to become what's called an authorized user on another person's good standing credit card. 2, if your credit score is very low or non-existent and you don't have any credit cards, consider getting a secured credit card. This is a low limit card that a bank can issue to you that requires you to pay them a security deposit up front. Many of the major issuers like Discover and Capital One have good offers on secured cards. Typically, the credit limits, they're tiny, like $200 or less. I mean, pretty much the only reason secured credit cards exist is to help people build credit. Once you get yours, start making some purchases with the card and then pay it back in full every month. Over time, you'll start building a positive credit history. Number 3, as soon as you can, apply for a low limit non-secured card, use it, and then make your payments there. 4, pay off the balances of what cards you do have so that your utilization ratio is below 10%. For most people, this would make the biggest difference in their score in the shortest amount of time. Number 5, if your accounts are in good standing, call your credit card company to increase your limits. This will also decrease your credit card utilization ratio. Number 6, open a couple of premium credit card accounts with great rewards. With that said, number 7, avoid opening up too many new accounts because they will reduce your average credit account age, of which makes up 15% of your score. And with that said, number 8, whatever you do, don't close old accounts, including your secured card. Those old accounts add significant value to your score. Number 9, diversify your credit mix as it accounts for about 10% of your score. Don't take out debt you don't need, however. You don't want an unnecessary payment, but you can be strategic with it. For example, consider paying off some existing credit card debt by taking out a peer-to-peer loan with a service like Lending Club. This can help you pay off your higher interest rate credit cards while simultaneously diversifying your credit mix. Number 10, if you have late or past due payments in your history, try to negotiate the terms of the debt and see if your creditor can adjust your account status back to current. Number 11, monitor your score over time to watch for areas of improvement. And number 12, check your credit reports regularly to ensure there are no errors. Now, some of these actions will have an immediate impact on your score while others will take some time. But if nothing else, for the fastest impact to improving your credit score, optimize your credit utilization ratio. So if you already have one or more credit cards, this could be the biggest move to make if you want to get your score above 800. It's the second most important factor in your credit score. Ideally, you want a credit utilization ratio of below 10%. To do this, first, pay off any credit card balances that you have. Do that ASAP. Second, if you can't pay them off right away, then try to balance them out. For example, let's say you have 2 cards that each have a $7,500 credit limit, and you have $6,000 in debt on one card, that's 80% utilization, and only $1,000 in debt on the other card, 13% utilization. Move some of the balance from one card to the other, balancing out the balances. Third, even if you do pay off your credit card balance each month, your payment timing might be unfairly hurting you. You see, credit card issuers usually report your credit information to the credit rating agencies once per month, around the end of your billing cycle. And so here's how responsible people can get punished. If you just paid for a major $3,500 car repair on your $5,000 limit card right before they report your credit utilization, you're gonna get reported as having a 70% credit utilization ratio, which is bad, even though you always pay your credit card off every month. So there are 2 main ways to fix that. 1, pay your cards off 2 to 3 times per month instead of just once per month to keep your balance low at any one time. Or 2, split major purchases among multiple cards. The importance of having a high credit score cannot be overstated. In my opening example to you, it can be the difference of escaping the rat race in 10 years or 6 years. It's hard to fully escape the effects of having a low or mediocre score, especially if you don't understand how it impacts your financial future as a real estate investor. So putting some effort toward improving your credit score, it's as important as picking up that next income property. And now that you know why your credit score is important, how it works, and how to increase it, you now know what there is to do. So what'd you find most valuable? What'd you learn? What'd you notice? Let me know below. And who else do you know that needs to see this? You know, when their name comes to mind, please share it with them. Oh, and if you are already subscribed, I pulled this video out special for you to watch next. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.